Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am absolutely shocked at the SAG nominations for television this year. I'm Zach Laws of Gold Derby, and joining me now are fellow contributors Luca Giliberti and Kevin Jacobsen. And Luca, I want to start with you because, I am not above admitting that I was wrong about something. And you were definitely right about this. When you and I and Riley did a slugfest where we were predicting what would get nominated for SAG, I told you both that you were crazy for completely shutting out Succession. It turns out I was the crazy one. What did you know that I didn't?
Well, you know what? I'd like to be able to brag because I had it being shut out completely. But my reason was that SAG just sometimes takes a while to latch onto a show. But then the morning show gets 3 nominations, which completely destroys my argument because that show just came out in November on a streaming platform that just launched in November. So it doesn't make any sense to me that Succession wasn't able to get in if the morning show was able to get 3 nominations. I still think that the show is just not as huge and as popular as some of the other shows that got into the SAG lineup. Of course, it has a lot of passion, and the second season, it blew up everywhere. But I feel like it'll need another year or two to actually break into the SAG lineup because we have old SAG favorites here. We have Game of Thrones, we have Big Little Lies, we have The Handmaid's Tale, and we have Stranger Things, and then we have The Crown. These are all established favorites already. So it doesn't surprise me that Succession didn't get in. What did shock me is the omission of This Is Us, but I think we'll talk about that in a second.
Well, let me go to Kevin to get his gut check reaction. I mean, what is going on with this list of nominees?
I don't know. This is just a whole mess. I'm trying to make sense of it. There's no real logic to any of this, to be honest. I mean, the morning show getting 3 nominations and then not getting ensemble despite a very SAG-friendly cast there, full of movie and TV stars. And then Big Little Lies getting ensemble, but getting none of those great, amazing actresses individual nominations. Not even Meryl frickin' Streep. Like, how does that happen? Even like Nicole Kidman, she gets in for Bombshell, but somehow not for Big Little Lies, which is one of her most celebrated performances. I make it make sense. I don't know, but same thing with like the Kaminsky method. The fact that just keeps holding on is just the bane of my existence. I don't really understand it. I really thought it was just going to be a one-time thing last year. Clearly, at least Golden Globe and SAG just can't get enough of the Kaminsky method. The Emmys are a little different story, but yeah, it's just, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel did very well. Again, very expected. Nice to see Fleabag doing very well despite a very small ensemble compared to a lot of these. Only like 6 people were nominated from that show. And Andrew Scott is another thing that is, another awards group correcting the sins of the Emmys by, nominating him. So it's all over the place.
I know Emmy voters are definitely licking their wounds about that Adam Scott snub. I don't know what to think of these either. I mean, when the best drama actor category came up and the morning show got in Steve Carell, which was surprising enough. But not really, because he's Steve Carell and he's gotten a ton of SAG nominations, both on the film and TV side. When it got in Billy Crudup immediately after that, I thought, oh my God, this could actually get into ensemble, and then it didn't. Yeah. It got 3 acting nominations, including Jennifer Aniston on the actress side. Luca, I do want to ask you about This Is Us as well. Let's just look at the SAG ensemble in drama nominees. We got Crown, Game of Thrones, Big Little Lies, Handmaid's Tale, Stranger Things. No This Is Us, which just won, I think, 2 years in a row, right? Yeah. Obviously, no Succession, like we said. What surprised you most about the exclusions? What do you make up what do you make of This Is Us's exclusion from here?
I think the reason it was dropped is because it won twice in a row, and sometimes when SAG has rewarded some of these shows, they just drop it the year after because they've already rewarded it. I was still shocked that it didn't get in because it got 7 acting nominations at the Emmys. So I thought, at least it would have a nomination. It would still get nominated in ensemble, and it did still get in Sterling K. Brown. So it does surprise me a bit. But if you look at these 5 casts, it doesn't surprise me at all to see these 5 nominated. I mean, I know people were dropping The Handmaid's Tale everywhere. I kept it in. It just won 2 acting Emmys that it didn't have to win, meaning that there were so many other possibilities in those categories, yet it still managed to win more acting Emmys than for its second season, which was eligible in its almost in its entirety. So that didn't surprise me at all. My big question is what the hell is going to win this category, because The Crowns could be a front runner, given that both Olivia Colman and Helena Bonham Carter were nominated. But what about Game of Thrones? This their last chance, and people love this cast. It just got 10 acting Emmy nominations. So that's my big question here: is what will win?
Yeah, the fact that Game of Thrones actually hasn't won this category before is kind of baffling, given how much acclaim it has received at literally every other award show. But it gets the nomination every year, but it just never wins, because there's always Downton Abbey or Stranger Things or This Is Us that just get right in front of it. And I just feel like this is probably just going to be the time they just give it to that. But then again, I mean, I don't know. It didn't get any. Well, Peter Dinklage got in, but I just feel like, is there an urgency to do that? Especially when you have a whole new cast like The Crown coming in, and that has a bunch of acclaimed people in it as well. Yeah. And then there's the cast of Big Little Lies, which, even though it didn't get any individual nominations, is still just pound for pound one of the best casts ever assembled. So, yeah, the answer is I have no idea.
I'm truly shocked by the Succession snub. I mean, I really am.
Me too.
Not just because I'm a fan of the show and because I argued so strenuously for it. I mean, you're talking about no Brian Cox or Jeremy Strong or Matthew McFadden or Sarah Snook or Kieran Culkin or, I mean, like all these people who are giving these rich and layered performances, they're just all shut out. I mean, because these are some bizarre nominations. I mean, you have like The Crown gets in for Olivia Colman and Helena Bonham Carter, but Tobias Menzies gets snubbed. Stranger Things has got David Harbour. Handmaid's Tale has got Elizabeth Moss. Game of Thrones has got Peter Dinklage. Then you got Sterling coming back for This Is Us, and you've got this year's Emmy winner Jodie Comer for Killing Eve, as well as the morning show people who we talked about. So yeah, I mean, these nominations are just kind of all over the place, and it's hard to like get an accurate read on what we think can actually prevail. I mean, what do you guys think about who's going to win in these individual actor and actress categories?
Well, just before I get into that, what really shocked me too was the snub for Billy Porter in Best Drama Actor. It actually makes me really, I always say it makes me angry, but it really disappointed me because he just gives one of the best performances on television in Pose, and they already snubbed him last year. And I thought after he won the Emmy and, got that huge round of applause, I thought that actors were going to go for him here, and I thought he would have probably arisen as an easy front runner. But now this category is just, I mean, I could see Peter Dinklage taking this. I actually think it's a real possibility at the moment. I guess I could see Sterling K. Brown winning again just because they love him. I could see one of the morning showmen. I mean, there's so many possibilities in this category. And then for drama actress, I think it's Olivia Colman because she has never won a SAG award. And The Crown, Claire Foy has won twice for this show. So the show has never lost Best Drama Actress at the SAG Awards. And to me, she has a very clear path at the moment, though I wouldn't count out pretty much anyone in this category. It's such a mess.
Yeah. I would say Peter Dinklage is probably the shaky front runner in male actor right now. But yeah, that could go to literally any of them, including David Harbour, who, people love David Harbour. I wouldn't count him out at all. And female actor, I do think actually Jennifer Aniston has a pretty solid shot at that. Just because they clearly love the morning show and she's a big part of that success. And it's kind of like we were saying with the Golden Globes, return to television for her. But I think, yeah, considering how much they've loved The Crown in the past, that Olivia Colman feels like a clear victor here. And like Luca was just saying, you know, she didn't win the SAG last year. So, yeah, I feel like that's pretty relatively locked.
And
yeah, I mean, I as of right now, I've got Olivia Colman winning, but I've got Jennifer Aniston in second. I mean, obviously they love both of those shows, but I guess maybe they love The Crown a little bit more because it got into Ensemble. I don't know. They got the same exact number of nominations. Peter Dinklage could win. I'm gonna right now, just to have fun, I'm gonna predict Steve Carell because what the heck, you know? It could be like the thing that the morning show wins, you know, if not Jennifer Aniston. But let's turn to the comedy side. All right, so we've got Marvelous Mrs. Maisel leads, I think, all TV nominations. It's got 4 overall. Followed by Kaminsky Method and Fleabag. They've got 3 each. Schitt's Creek and Barry both got 2. So is this just gonna? Could Maisel win again, or could Fleabag continue its sort of awards run? I mean, I think a lot of us are predicting Fleabag to win the Golden Globe. So maybe SAG Ensemble could follow. What do you guys think about this? I mean, were there shows that got left out that really shocked you?
Well, I think Maisel. I'm predicting Fleabag to win just because Fleabag is the hot show at the moment. It's after all those Emmy wins. I never doubted its success at other award shows, but I wouldn't, count out Maisel. SAG Awards, they love their repeat nominees and they love back-to-back winners in especially the ensemble categories. And again, it got 2 actress nominations. It got in Tony Shalhoub, so it's doing incredibly well. But I just don't have the guts to put it ahead of Fleabag at the moment. And as for big snubs, I don't know if it's a big snub, but Veep being left out for its final season along with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which is insane. But I can't say I'm all too surprised after the show just didn't perform at the Emmys last year, or this year. And then it didn't
feels like last year.
Yeah, it feels like last year. And then it didn't do the Globes on Monday either in the nominations, so it doesn't really shock me. I think the inclusion of the Kaminsky Method seems a bit tired, even though it's just in its 2nd season. But I was very close to putting it into my lineup because I thought SAG, they just love their repeat nominees. So I'm not shocked.
Yeah. Another snub that I found a little bit surprising, though I know not a lot of people were necessarily predicting it to get in again, but Glow, I think, was a bit of a surprising omission. I mean, Alison Brie got in 2 years in a row. The show got in 2 years in a row. They love Netflix. I felt like, it's such a clear ensemble that I felt like it was just going to keep on going, but I guess not. It's hard to say exactly why. Maybe just the buzz keeps fading a little bit more with each passing season of that show. So there's that. And yeah, the fact that Veep is not included at all here, the same thing with the Golden Globes, is a very strange sort of final whimper for that show that was very acclaimed for many years and has just now basically ceased to exist now that we've gotten to the end of the year, which I find to be very shocking and kind of sad for a show that was so acclaimed for so long and so great for so long.
I know, it's almost become like HBO's Modern Family, I mean, it's it's just completely, I mean, no Emmy wins in its last year, no Golden Globe nominations, no SAG nominations. I had it in actually for Ensemble and Julia just because I thought like they would want to say goodbye to her, and they are inclined to nominate the same things over and over again. I guess speaking as like the resident Kaminsky Method fan on this, because I like it better than you guys do, I guess. I was surprised. I thought they would drop it, especially because it did not perform well at the Emmys at all. maybe that was just a fluke. Maybe it's going to do well this Emmy season. You know, who knows? Because it did return to the Golden Globes, and both Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin repeated in both groups. You know, so I don't know what to make of that show. Schitt's Creek getting in.
Yay.
Yeah. And for Catherine O'Hara, I think that, you know, we talk about how much they love Netflix, and I think that they have to they have to thank Netflix for this nomination. Same thing at the Emmys. What do you guys think of the individual acting awards? Are these just going to go to Bill Hader and Phoebe Waller-Bridge again, or could we see upsets from people like Andrew Scott, or on the actress side, maybe Catherine O'Hara or Christina Applegate, who has been having a pretty good run lately?
Yeah, I was just going to say the inclusion of Christina Applegate actually makes me very happy, because that was, she was sort of predicted as like the sixth slot for the Emmys back then. And there were many people who weren't even predicting her at all, because that show, we didn't know if it was going to even be seen by the Emmys. So the fact that she's gotten in not only there and Golden Globes, but now SAG as well, is very heartening to see, and shows a lot of support for her, at least. And I hope that she can carry that over into the second season next year. So that's very exciting. But I do think that the winners will ultimately be the Emmy winners, just because there's so much love for both Bill Hader and Phoebe Waller-Bridge that I just feel like no one else can really touch them, unless Fleabag just completely sweeps and we get an Andrew Scott.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is close to a lock to win. She's going to go for the full sweep. I have no doubt that she is going to win this. And I agree. I think Andrew Scott is a real threat here, because we talked about this on Monday. The Hot Priest was just such a big deal in the second season, and I could definitely see actors going for him. And it's actually quite the achievement that he got into this category, because, you know, it's still a supporting performance, and he really didn't get it. He didn't get in at the Emmys, so he didn't have that working in his favor. So this is a really significant nomination for him. And something about Bill Hader, which is important, is that last year he had Henry Winkler in his category, so he might have split the vote with him. And Henry Winkler isn't there this year, which could make it easier for him to win. And I think there's a very good chance, because people just absolutely adore him, and the second season was, so acclaimed. And Tony Shalhoub, we shouldn't count him out either. He just won an Emmy. He won in this category last year, probably capitalizing on a Barry and Kaminsky method vote split. So it might be a bit more difficult for him this year, since he isn't the only individual, or the only one not suffering from vote splitting. But I think it's not a lock for anyone at the moment, whereas Best Actress is. And for Catherine O'Hara, I remember about a month ago when we did our first SAG discussion, I said, if Schitt's Creek is getting into ensemble, I'm going to have to predict at least Catherine O'Hara to get in. And I'm so disappointed that I didn't predict her in the end. But I think this nomination bodes very, very well for her Emmy chances. And I think she could actually win the Emmy this year or next year. Jeez. Yeah.
It's hard to, it all just kind of blends together, doesn't it? I think so. I mean, looking at her, and also I'd say Christina Applegate as well.
Yes.
You know, those look like they could be the ones who kind of take up the mantle from the Phoebes and the Julias, and Rachel Brosnahan as well, who's going to be there. I'm going with the Emmy winners right now. Just Bill Hader, we should remember, you know, he has not won for this show yet. Because of his vote split with Henry Winkler. So this could be sort of a makeup victory for him. Phoebe seems kind of unstoppable at this point. But I do think with for both of them, maybe their competitions are people like Andrew Scott and Catherine O'Hara. You know, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's so locked up. The people who I think don't have a chance of winning in those categories are Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin and Rachel Brosnahan and Alex Borstein, just simply because they're competing against their own co-stars. Moving on to the movie mini categories, the two. First of all, congratulations to Jarrell Jerome. Had a bad morning on Monday, had a good morning Wednesday. It's pretty much every single nominee of these 10, with only two exceptions, Russell Crowe and Toni Collette. These are all people who have competed at the Emmys and won or lost. So, I mean, this really doesn't tell us anything about what we can expect for next year. Do we think that they're just going to go Jharrel Jerome and Michelle Williams? Or, you know, Patricia Arquette did win for The Act. She's nominated here. Maybe Jared Harris or Sam Rockwell could be a spoiler. What do you guys think?
I think that Jharrel Jerome is absolutely winning this. I think this is a performance that has been acclaimed by actors more so than by anyone else. You could tell just when he won the Emmy. I mean, half of those people in the audience are probably SAG voters. I think he's easily taking this even without that Globe nomination that has no influence on this. I think Michelle Williams is also easily winning her category. Even Patricia Arquette, if she were a threat, she has Joey King to split the vote with. And you know what? I know Patricia Arquette won the Emmy, but Joey King is still going to, or I think she's still going to take some votes away from her because her performance is just that good. But about that category, where is Merritt Wever? I honestly don't. Toni Collette is wonderful in the show and she deserves that nomination, but I don't understand why Merritt Wever isn't in this category. I mean, I do understand because it's such a SAG thing to do, to go for the bigger name. But it really did disappoint me because most people left that show saying Merritt Wever is the MVP. And as great as Caitlin Dever is as well, I never really expected her to get in here because it's such a crowded category. But I just wish at least Merritt Wever and Toni Collette had gotten in, though I don't think this has any influence on their Emmy chances, respectively.
Yeah, I do think that it is just going to go once again to the Emmy winners. And yeah, I mean, I can't really even see like maybe a Jared Harris just because the industry clearly loves Chernobyl. But otherwise, I think it's pretty locked and loaded for him, just as Lucas said, as far as, you know, the incredible reception he got at the Emmys when he won. That should probably say it all right there. And it's such an actor friendly performance because, you know, he tweets a lot about like certain people who message him about how like seeing his performance in that fourth episode made them understand like why they became an actor in the first place. Like he's talked about that in the past. So I just feel like that's clear SAG friendly material right there. And same thing with Michelle Williams playing Gwen Verdon is just, you know, one of those every actor's dream sort of thing, and is so accomplished. She sings and dances, she does it all. And but yes, for The Act, I was a little bit surprised that people weren't predicting Joey King, even if she isn't as big of a name, because I did predict her. I felt like if Patricia Arquette was getting in, then how can Joey King not as well as the lead, and is such a transformative performance herself. And so yeah, I think they did a pretty solid job in the limited series categories. But yeah, there are some stubs like Merritt Wever, and things could be a little bit better. But I think on the whole, this is probably the best genre that SAG did as far as really representing what was the best in that particular genre.
Yeah. I'm just going with the Emmy winners too. I think it's just sort of, I don't know. I mean, it feels sort of, it feels inevitable. I want to say one thing about the stunts category, not so much to be like, who's going to win? Because I think Game of Thrones has pretty much got that locked down. It's more so to point out that like, this is the one nomination that Watchmen got.
Yeah.
So no Regina King, no ensemble, none of the other actors. And I think that's just a shame because it was also left out at the Golden Globes on Monday. And I mean, this is one of the most interesting shows of the year, one of the most talked about, and one that has like really started some interesting conversations about representation of race relations in America in really surprising ways. And so I'm disappointed that show has not done better at those two organizations. It has gotten like a Writers Guild nomination, and maybe some other guild stuff. But you know, I'm hoping that the Emmys will take more notice of it than SAG did. Any final thoughts, you guys?
Yeah, I do have one final one, and that's back to the drama categories, which is that Elizabeth Moss has still never won an individual SAG award, which is absolutely crazy. I'm not going to predict her for Handmaids this year, but I'm just hoping that eventually they get to her, especially for this role. She gave such an incredible performance in the third season, and I feel like so many awards groups and so many people in general have just been dismissing it. The same for the cast of The Handmaid's Tale. So I'm just very happy that they got these nominations today, because the third season, even if it was a wishy-washy season, the cast was absolutely phenomenal, and they definitely deserve this. And if it were up to me, they'd probably win both categories, but it's not going to happen. I'm just glad it got in.
Yeah, and I will just say one thing to always remember with this is to not necessarily let this influence future Emmy predictions too much, just because there is such a long waiting period between this and the Emmy nominations. It's literally half of a year, so a lot can change in between that. Clearly, like last year, if we saw how well the Kominsky method did at all of these organizations, only to not even get into comedy series at the Emmys, I think just keep that in mind. But definitely there were 4 shows for me that really felt like the best of the year, that 2 of them are very well represented this year, which is Fleabag, of course, doing very well, and I don't remember what the other one was, but sorry, I was just thinking too much about the snubs that are still so clearly in my mind for Succession and especially Watchmen. To not get Regina King in at either of these organizations is sort of a crime. And I just feel like hopefully the Emmys might correct that once we get there, once more people actually see Watchmen, that will be corrected. And the other show that I was thinking of that I love is When They See Us. And I'm glad that at least it could get on the board here with Jarrell Jerome. And it is also just a reminder that it is patently absurd that they do not have an ensemble category for limited series and TV movies, because a cast like When They See Us would be very deserving of that and would make for a great TV moment on top of all of that. So please, I urge SAG once again to consider adding a limited series category. I know they probably won't, but for time budget reasons, but consider.
Yeah, just play a few less commercials, all right, you guys? Yeah. Shorten that little I am an actor segment at the beginning of it. We don't need all of that. Well, I think we did our best job trying to make sense of the senselessness of SAG nominations. Now that we've told you guys what we think, we want to know what you think. So make sure you go to goldderby.com right now and make your predictions and see if you know better than us. Kevin, Luca, thank you so much.
Thank you.